Yes. Yes. All right, children. Are you ready for a story?
We are.
I'm surprised you didn't pick the London Hunt, actually. That one I thought would have been one of the ones that people would have wanted to hear. Pardon?
Yeah, I agree.
It was sad.
Well, it's not very uplifting over you.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I did go. I did head toward a tree in that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Riding
moving
wasn't
on.
your thing.
No, Clarabelle the cow. I was still in grade 8, and this was the weekend that my sister had been anxiously waiting for. She'd been winning more and more at the local horse shows. So for the next 2 days, both my parents were taking her to a prestigious horse show out of town. That day was also the start of a big weekend for me, since it was the first time my parents had felt I was old enough to be on my own and look after my large menagerie while they were gone. At the time, we had 4 horses, 9 dogs, numerous cats, and various other critters, including a few pet rabbits. The plan was that I'd be on my own for 2 days, and so to tell you the truth, other than raiding the fridge and eating whatever I wanted, my first day was rather boring. However, the second day, things got a bit more eventful. A family friend who had a nearby horse farm called to check up on me, and since I was not doing anything interesting, she invited me to join her at a farm auction she was planning on attending. I was not sure what a farm auction was and thought that it was for selling off tractors and various kinds of implements. Even though I had no interest in stuff like that, it sounded a lot better than sitting at home by myself. We seemed to drive forever until we finally pulled into what appeared to be a huge farm that had more livestock pens and enclosures than normal. As we got out of our truck, you couldn't help but notice the strong odor of manure in the air. I asked her what she wanted to bid on, and to my surprise, she said, "I'm hoping to find a nice horse." I thought to myself, "Horse? Oh, now I know what this is. It's a livestock auction. Ooh, this is the place where they auction off horses and cattle to the highest bidder." Right below where we were sitting was a large fenced pen with a dirt floor, and next to it was a holding area where the next animal would wait until the wide wooden gate opened up again, allowing it to run into the pen for all to see. The auctioneer would then start by carefully describing the creature in the enclosure in front of him, and hands holding pieces of cardboard with numbers written on them would shoot up all over the room. Over the next few hours, I observed as horse after horse was paraded past a variety of would-be buyers and auctioned off. Then they would bring in various breeds of cattle and do the same thing. The auctioneer was talking so fast I could barely understand him, but to the farmers who were sitting there in their semicircular stands, sitting on the hand-cut wooden benches above the auction area in their well-worn coveralls, he made perfect sense. The more I sat on the uncomfortable wooden bleachers, the more I thought about how much I'd really love to have a pet cow. I thought to myself, I've had lots of animals, but I've never had a cow. But I didn't just want a cow, I wanted a baby one, a calf. All day long, I only saw adult cows being herded into the room where the auctioneer was, but then toward the end of the day, they brought in a small group of calves, black and white Herefords to be exact. I knew I just had to have one. So I raised my hand, but the bidding wasn't for just one. You had to buy 6 calves as a group. I did not need 6 baby calves. I only wanted one as a pet. And besides, buying all of them was way more than I had in my savings account. After the auction ended, I happened to pass by the calves in the pen. There was this one I saw. She was a sweet little black and white girl with the cutest speckled nose and big brown eyes, and with the most amazing long eyelashes. I immediately fell in love with her. I was reaching in and petting her soft, curly black coat through the enclosure when I recognized her new owner standing there in his worn blue coveralls. I walked over to him and I begged him to let me buy her. I had been saving my allowance for over a year and I was sure I had enough. To my delight, the man said yes. And my mom's friend and I brought her home and put her in one of our empty horse stalls. I made sure she had lots of fresh water and put in some fresh straw for her to lie down on. I always loved the smell of fresh straw and enjoyed watching how every animal just loved to roll and play in it. I was so excited about having a cow of my own that I completely forgot about what my mother would say. How was I going to break the news that I bought a cow? Later that night, my mother called from the horse show to check up on things. I can remember her asking me if anything was new. And I said, I got something. I heard her ask, did you get another dog? I said, no. Did you get a cat? You know you already have a lot of cats. I said, no. You didn't get a horse, did you? I'd be really upset if you got another horse. I said, it's not a horse. And my mother said, what is it? Is it bigger than a bread box? And I said, yes. And then I blurted out, I bought a cow. There was dead silence for what seemed like forever. And then I heard my mother yell out over the phone, likely loud enough for the entire horse show to hear, she bought a cow. So, all the next day I tried my best to figure out how I was going to keep my mother from making me take my cat back when she got home. I knew if I could just get her to see how adorable her little black face was with a white stripe down the middle and the cute speckled nose, that she'd fall in love with her too. Finally, after what seemed like forever, our orange Land Cruiser pulling the matching horse trailer and barreling up our long driveway, my mother got out and she wouldn't even look in my direction. I knew I was in so much trouble. After what seemed like a long time, I finally got up enough courage to step into the kitchen and ask her if she'd like to see her. My mother looked at me with eyes like daggers and said in a very sharp tone, no. I looked at the floor, lowered my head and said, okay, I'll take her back. I slowly left the house and went to the barn to feed her and say goodbye. And when I went into the barn and approached her stall, I knew something was wrong. She was coughing and had long gooey strings of green slime coming from her nose. I ran to the house and into the kitchen screaming, she's sick, Mom, she's sick, she's really sick. Mom immediately stopped what she was doing, and I went running to the barn to see what we needed to do. As soon as Mom looked into the stall, all she saw was this black and white face with big brown eyes and long eyelashes and this snotty little pink nose with black speckles poking through the stall bars. My mother said, "Aw, does she have a name?" I said, "No. What name do you think she should have?" Mom looked down at the small black and white Hereford in front of her and said, "Clarabelle, I think she looks like a Clarabelle." I knew right then that my calf was not going anywhere and that my mom had fallen in love with her adorable face just like I had. From the first day I got Clarabelle, I never treated her like a cow, but more like a horse or dog. Like most of my pets, she could roam freely all over the property, and when I would take my colt named Candyman out for exercise, Clarabelle would come loping up behind us. I'm sure that she thought she was a horse, because when I put her up low jumps for my colt to jump over, there would be Clarabelle trotting along behind him in perfect time, jumping every jump. One of the things I enjoyed was putting a lead rope on her and walking her obstacles that would typically make a cow nervous. But since we did so many things around typical for a cow, she had no fear of new things or places. Another memorable day happened when Clarabelle was still a young calf, and a business associate of my father's came by. While he was in the house talking with my mother, he left his driver's side door wide open with the driver's seat pulled forward. I can still remember my mother's voice in my head as she hollered to me, "Catherine Marie, come here right now." You always know when it's bad when your parents use your middle name. As I rounded the corner of the house, at first I did not see what the problem was or why there was an angry stranger standing there staring at me. Then I saw her. As I got closer to the expensive black two-door sedan in our driveway, all my focus and everyone else's was on the pink nose with black speckles that was pressed up against the rear window of the man's car from the inside. I guess Clarabelle, who is now around 3 months old, had decided she wanted to see what the inside of a car was like. It took a lot of coaxing and all my strength to get her out of the car, and both of us were in Mom's bad books for quite a while over that one. Another thing that Clarabelle liked to do was follow me to the school bus in the morning. She would run along as cows do in a kind of up and down motion as she loped along down the long driveway. I can remember one day she even tried to get on the bus with us and had her head in the door looking for where we went. The bus driver was trying hard not to laugh because he wasn't able to pull away till she pulled her head back out of the open bus door. There I was, standing on the steps of my school bus, having an important conversation with my pet cow, staring into these big brown eyes with gorgeous long eyelashes, trying to explain to her that she couldn't get on the bus and needed to go back home. I can still see that picture of my black Hereford with her white legs doing a seesaw run in the tall grass along the side of the gravel concession road, following the bus until it turned the corner at the bottom of the hill. But one of the funniest memories of all was when we were having breakfast one morning. Even Dad was home that day, which was unusual since he traveled all over the world on business and was rarely home, let alone with us for breakfast. That morning I had my head down and was enjoying my French toast. As I was sitting there, I could hear our outside door open. It was in the hall where all the ribbons were displayed, just behind the kitchen. As I wondered why the door had opened, I heard a familiar sound. I tried to pretend I did not hear anything and that maybe I was wrong. But all I could think of was, oh, please, let me be wrong. Then it happened. My dad suddenly felt like someone was staring at him. And as he looked up from his breakfast, there at eye level was a big, gentle black face with a white stripe down the center and a big pink and black speckled nose. And before my dad could even utter a word, all you heard was, there she was, an almost half-grown cow, standing in my mother's kitchen. I looked over at my mother, who was standing next to the cupboards by the stove with her arms crossed and staring straight at me, and all I heard was, get your cow out of my kitchen. I jumped up and attempted to turn a large bovine around in a tight space and push her down the hall and out the door. All those words sound so easy, but as I learned with the car episode, Clarabelle liked going in places, but not so much leaving them. To my family's relief, I was finally able to get her out of the house, and then I stayed out of Mom's way until she cooled off. But to my surprise and delight, on the next trip, my dad brought home an authentic Swiss cowbell for Clarabelle to wear. Then, no matter where she was on our property, there were no more surprises. Instead, I'd hear the distinctive sound of a Swiss cowbell ringing softly in the distance.
I have 2 words for you. House cow.
Uh-huh.